I stood in the dim glow of our kitchen. The only light was the weak green pulse from a microwave clock ticking past midnight, 12:17 a.m., then 12:18. Each second hammered in my ears, loud as a drumbeat, keeping time with the pulse thudding against my ribs. The air felt thick, heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath, waiting for a storm to break. And across the room, under the weak light of the stove hood, stood the storm itself. Emily, my wife of 7 years. She was standing with her arms crossed, a shield against me. Her eyes, those hazel eyes I knew better than my own, were darting everywhere, to the sink, to the floor, to the pantry door, anywhere but at me. It had been like this for weeks, months, maybe. This distance, this invisible wall she'd built, brick by brick, right between us. Her phone sat on the granite counter, between us. It was a traitor, the silent, glowing witness that had finally given me something solid, something I couldn't ignore. For weeks, I'd been living on a diet of you're imagining things, and it's just work stress. I was a paranoid husband, the needy one, for noticing how she guarded that phone like it held state secrets, how she'd angle it away from me when she texted, how it was always face down on the table. Tonight, she'd slipped up. She'd left it on the counter, face up, while she went to get a glass of water, and it lit up, just a preview on the lock screen. But it was enough. A name I didn't recognize. Derek. And a message. I only saw a few words before she snatched it, but the tone, it was disgustingly clear. It wasn't a, hey, see you at the meeting tomorrow kind of text. It was intimate. It was a thinking of you text, complete with a winking emoji that made my stomach turn to acid. All this while she was supposedly packing for a girls' trip to Miami. Emily. My voice came out raw, cracked. It sounded like it belonged to someone else. Someone older, someone broken. She flinched, her head snapping up, but her eyes still didn't meet mine. What, Nathan? Who's Derek? I wanted her to laugh. I was praying, begging whatever God was listening, for her to just roll her eyes, toss her hair back, and call me a paranoid idiot. I wanted her to say he was a new client, a cousin, anything. She didn't. Instead, her lips tightened into a thin, white line. She turned her back to me, facing the sink. She picked up a glass that was already perfectly clean, and started scrubbing it, viciously. The scrape of the sponge on the glass was the only sound in the room, and it was setting my teeth on edge. Nobody, she said. Her voice was clipped, sharp, like she was cutting a thread. He's just a friend. From the group I'm going with. A friend, I repeated. The word felt stupid in my mouth. A friend who sent that kind of message? You're overthinking this, Nathan. She didn't turn around, just kept scrubbing that poor, innocent glass. You're always overthinking everything. Overthinking. That was her word for it. Not, hey, my husband is feeling insecure. Maybe I should reassure him. No, it was, you're overthinking, which was just a polite way of saying you're crazy, and this is your problem, not mine. I took a step closer. The linoleum was cold under my bare feet, the chill seeping right up into me. You blocked me. The scrubbing stopped. My words just hung there, sharp and heavy in the sudden silence. They begged for an answer she wouldn't give. I'd found out by accident. I'd tried to send her a funny picture of our cat earlier in the day. The message wouldn't deliver. Just that cold, sterile message failed to send notification. I thought it was my phone. Then I tried again. And again. Finally, I tried to call her. Straight to voicemail. Not even a ring. I knew what that meant. We'd all seen the articles. I couldn't believe she would do it to me. I said, my voice shaking now, the anger starting to curdle with the hurt. On a trip with your girls, you block your husband. Why? Why would you do that, Emily? She spun around. Her face was a mask of something. Not guilt, not shame. It was defiance. Her hazel eyes were flashing, but not with tears. With anger. She was angry at me. Because I needed space, Nathan, she hissed, and her voice was a blade. You're always hovering, always checking. When did you text? Who was that? Why are you late? It's suffocating. Suffocating. The word sliced right through the last thread of trust I'd been clinging to. Space. I'd given her everything. Every late night I stayed up waiting, telling myself, it's just her job. Every weekend she was at the firm while I was home, Mowing the lawn and fixing the leaky faucet she'd been complaining about for months. Every quiet moment where I swallowed my doubts, crushed down that little voice screaming that something was wrong, all to keep our peace, to keep us steady. And I was the one who was suffocating? Then why is your phone blowing up with his name? I pointed, my hand shaking, at the device on the counter. Its screen was dark now, but it still felt like a witness to her secrecy. You don't block someone you love unless you're hiding something. You don't need space from your husband unless you're making space for someone else. She laughed. She actually laughed. It was a bitter, ugly sound that didn't come anywhere near her eyes. It was a sound I'd never heard her make before, and it chilled me more than the cold floor. You're pathetic, you know that? She said, her voice dripping with contempt I didn't recognize. Digging through my phone, interrogating me, acting like some jealous high school teenager. She took a step toward me, and I actually flinched back. Maybe I blocked you because I can't stand your neediness anymore. Did you ever think of that? Maybe I just wanted a few days without you breathing down my neck. Her words were practiced. They were precise. They were jabs in a boxing match I didn't even know we were in. Each one landed hard in the last, aimed at every insecurity I'd ever had. My neediness, my paranoia, my jealousy. I felt the room tilt. My chest tightened, a band of steel squeezing the air from my lungs. The woman I had built a life with, the woman I had promised to love and honor, was tearing that life apart. And she was doing it with a smirk. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake her until the truth fell out. I wanted to break down and cry and beg her to tell me this was all a nightmare. But something in her gaze, cold, calculated, and utterly void of the woman I married, stopped me. I wasn't looking at my wife. I was looking at a stranger. So I did the only thing I could. I turned, grabbed my keys from the hook by the door, and jammed my feet into the sneakers I had left there. I'm done guessing, Em, I said. My voice was low, quiet, but it was steady. It was a promise I didn't fully understand yet, but I knew I had to make. I'll find out myself. I pulled the door open and stepped out into the cool night air. I didn't slam it. I just left. As I walked to my car, the moon hiding behind clouds, I pulled out my phone. I ignored the instinct to call my brother, to call anyone. Instead, I sent a text to her friend Sarah, the one who was supposedly organizing this girl's trip. It was just a few words. Tell Emily I know. I got in my car, started the engine, and just sat there in the driveway. The engine humming. 15 minutes passed. Maybe 20. It felt like a lifetime. Then my phone lit up, and it didn't stop. A call from Emily. I ignored it. Another call. Ignored. A text. Then another. Then a string of them. So fast I couldn't even read the previews. Then the call started again. One after another. 30 missed calls. All from her. The screen glowed on my passenger seat. A frantic, pulsing warning. But I didn't answer. I just put the car in reverse and pulled away from the house. Not yet. I wouldn't answer. Not yet. Video cuts to a shot from the dashboard of a car, driving aimlessly through dark, suburban streets. Streetlights streak by blurring. The phone on the passenger seat lights up again. And again. My life before that night. It was simple. It was predictable. And I mean that in the best way possible. Video. Interior shot. Nathan is driving, one hand on the wheel, his face illuminated by the green glow of the dashboard. He looks exhausted, but his eyes are sharp, alert. My name is Nathan Carter. I'm 34 years old. I live in a modest two-bedroom house in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. The kind of house with creaky floors and a backyard we swore we'd landscape. Someday. For 7 years, that someday was always a comforting, shared joke with Emily. Now it just feels like another lie. By day, I'm a high school history teacher. Mr. Carter. I teach teenagers about the Civil War, about the difference between primary and secondary sources, about cause and effect. I'm a man who believes in facts, in evidence, in the logical progression of events. My days follow a rhythm, lesson plans, coffee from the faculty lounge that tastes like burnt cardboard, grading papers under the institutional hum of fluorescent lights. I coach the school's chess club. Yeah, I know. Total cliche. The nerdy, predictable history teacher. He scoffs, a humorless sound. I mow the lawn on Saturdays. I cook dinner most nights, usually pasta, because it was her favorite. Or, at least, she said it was. I thought we were happy. Or, content. The kind of comfortable, quiet happy that movies don't make songs about, but that you build a life on. I trusted her. That's the part that's killing me. I trusted her trips with her college friends. I trusted her late nights at the law firm, all those depositions in case emergencies. I bought it all. I was a supportive husband. The Rock. I was the guy holding down the fort while she was out slaying dragons in the courtroom. He grips the steering wheel, his knuckles white. The phone on the passenger seat buzzes, and he glances at it. The screen shows Emily 41 missed calls. 41. Back in the kitchen. It was 30. She's getting more frantic. That night, standing in our kitchen, I saw the fracture, the crack in the foundation of the life I thought we were building. And it's one of those things, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You suddenly see all the other little cracks it connects to. The late nights, the work stress that made her so distant, the new perfume, the way she'd started laughing at her phone, then locking it when I walked into the room. All those little red flags I dismissed as me overthinking. He pulls the car into the mostly empty parking lot of a 24-hour diner. The neon sign, the comet flickers, buzzing, casting a sickly red glow. He cuts the engine. The sudden silence is deafening, broken only by the buzz of his phone. My goal was clear. It had crystallized in the moments I stood on my own porch, keys in hand. I needed the truth. Not her version of the truth, not the spin-doctored, lawyer-proof statement she'd try to feed me. I needed the real truth. No matter how much it hurt, I needed to know who Emily had become, what she was hiding, and who the hell Derek was. This was only the beginning. I could feel it, like the change in air pressure before a tornado hits. Something bigger was coming. Something that was going to flip everything I thought I knew. Everything I was completely upside down. The night air bit my knuckles as I sat there, parked in the red glow of the comet sign. My phone vibrated relentlessly on the passenger seat. Emily's name flashing like a pulse I didn't want to feel. The 41 missed calls had turned to 50. Then the text started coming in again, a flood. Close up on the phone screen as Nathan scrolls, his thumb moving grimly. Emily, Nathan, call me back. Emily, you don't understand what you saw. Emily, please, let's just talk about this. Emily, you're blowing this up over nothing. Emily, don't do this to us. Emily, Nathan, pick up the phone. I'm serious. Emily, you're scaring me. Emily, I'm coming home. I didn't read the rest. Coming home. She was supposed to be leaving for Miami. This was panic. This was a cornered animal. And it only made me more certain. My thumb hovered over Sarah's number. She'd seen my message by now. Tell Emily I know. She was the organizer, the best friend, Emily's college roommate. She had to know. She was either in on it, or she was a key. I replayed the fight in my head. Every word was a splinter. Her smirk, the way she'd call me pathetic. That wasn't deflection. That was power. That was her feeling so safe in her lie that she could afford to go on the offense. Like she was daring me to unravel her secret. Knowing I was just a simple history teacher who'd never have the guts to do it. He lets out a long, ragged breath. I'm not a detective. I'm just a guy who grades essays on the American Revolution and plays chess with nerdy sophomores. But sitting there in that empty parking lot, I felt like I was in a game, and Emily had just made her opening move, a move that sacrificed her queen, our marriage, just to protect her king, whoever he was. I had to counter, or I'd lose everything. Our home, our history, the entire life I thought we'd built. I pressed call on Sarah's number. It rang once, twice. I was about to hang up, thinking she was screening me, when she answered. Nathan? What the hell? Her voice was sharp, but also wrong. Too high, too thin, like I'd woken her from a dream, but it was almost 1 a.m. If she was packing for a girl's trip, she'd be awake. Sarah was always the blunt one, the one who always smelled faintly of lavender and never, ever sugarcoated anything. She was the one who'd told me Emily was out of my league when we first started dating. She'd said it with a smile, but she'd meant it. What's this I know nonsense? She snapped. You're freaking her out. She's hysterical. Good, I said, and my voice was steadier than I felt. She blocked me, Sarah, on her girl's trip. Then I saw a text from some guy named Derek. So who is he? And don't you dare lie to me. The silence on the other end stretched. It was too long. It was heavy, and it was filled with every single thing she wasn't saying. I could hear faint sounds in the background. Music, not the sound of packing. I leaned forward, gripping the steering wheel. Sarah, don't cover for her. Not on this. I deserve the truth. She let out a long sigh. It was the kind of sigh that carries a secret you're tired of holding. Look, Nathan, it's really not what you think. Derek is he's someone from her firm. Her firm, I repeated, my voice flat. Yeah, they're working on a huge case together. Super high stress. She didn't want you worrying over nothing. She's just been really stressed. You know how she gets. Her words sounded rehearsed, stilted, like she was reading from a script Emily had texted her 5 minutes ago. I could picture her on the other end, maybe in some beachside Airbnb, glancing at Emily for approval. Then why block me? I pressed. If it's just work. Why block her husband? Why is she blowing up my phone now, acting like the world is ending? My voice cracked, betraying the calm I was trying so hard to hold on to. The diner's neon sign flickered outside, casting red shadows across my dashboard. Flicker, flicker, off, on. It felt like the world was warning me to stop digging. But I couldn't. She's just stressed, okay? Sarah said again, latching onto the word. This case is huge, and she's been distant. I told her it was a bad idea. Just talk to her, Nathan. Don't do anything stupid. She hung up. She just hung up before I could push harder. Before I could ask why a work colleague was sending winking emojis. I stared at my phone, the screen now dark. My reflection was a ghost in the glass. Stressed. Emily thrived under pressure. That's what she did. Courtroom arguments, late-night depositions, multi-million-dollar clients. She didn't crumble. She didn't get stressed and block her husband. She calculated. Sarah's lie was worse than the truth. It was lazy. It was insulting. And it confirmed everything. I drove home. The streets of Columbus, my quiet, predictable town, blurred past in the darkness. Our house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. The porch light, the one we always left on, was off. Inside, her absence was loud. Her suitcase, which had been by the door, was gone. But her favorite mug, the one I bought her from the art fair, was still in the sink from that morning. I sat on the couch, the same couch we'd picked out together. The silence was pressing in, a physical weight. I wanted to believe Sarah. I wanted to wake up tomorrow and have this all be a stress-induced nightmare. But the pieces didn't fit. Emily's block calls. Derek's name. Her cruelty in the kitchen. Sarah's pathetic, see-through lies. It was a puzzle, and I was missing the key. I opened my laptop, my fingers trembling as I typed Derek into a search bar, pairing it with her law firm. Nothing concrete, just a LinkedIn profile. Derek Harper, senior associate. All polished smiles and vague, corporate credentials. But his face lingered. That easy, cocky grin. A stranger who felt like a threat. I wasn't giving up. Emily was hiding something, and I was going to find it, even if it broke me. The truth was out there, and I was closer than I'd ever been. Video. The laptop screen is black. We see Nathan's reflection staring back, tired, pale, and angry. He slowly opens the laptop again. The face of Derek Harper, all polished smiles, fills the screen. The couch creaked under me as I sat there, laptop balanced on my knees, the digital ghost of Derek Harper staring back at me like a challenge. His bio was a sterile, corporate list of law degrees and case wins. He was results-driven and passionate about client advocacy. It was all meaningless jargon, but it was a photo. That cocky, easy grin. The tailored suit that probably cost more than my last 2 paychecks. The perfect, artfully messy hair. This was a guy. I could just feel it. This was a friend. This was the work colleague. I imagined him and Emily laughing over expensive wine at some downtown bar, one of those places with dark wood, an exposed brick that I always said were too pretentious. Her hand brushing his arm, her laughing that throaty laugh she saved for when she was trying to impress someone, the same laugh she used to use with me. Nathan slams the laptop shut, the sound echoing in the silent house. He throws it onto the cushion next to him and stands up, his breath ragged. I stood up, needing to move. The house was too quiet. It was the kind of quiet that screamed secrets. I started pacing the living room, my bare feet scuffing against the rug we picked out. We spent a whole Saturday at a flea market arguing over patterns, and finally settled on this one, a faded paisley thing. We'd haggled the guy down, and we felt so proud. We celebrated with cheap hot dogs and called it our first real antique. That was us. Then, bargain hunting, joking about our forever home. Now, every corner of this place, every stupid, cherished object, felt like a lie. The framed photo on the mantel? A lie. The stack of DVDs we watched 1,000,000 times? A lie. The whole life I'd built? A lie. My goal hadn't changed. I needed the truth about Emily, about Derek, about what she was hiding. But the how of it, that was murky. I'm a history teacher. I solve problems by reading books and analyzing texts. I'm not a private investigator. I felt like I was trying to solve a complex chess puzzle, but I was missing half the pieces, and I didn't even know all the rules. He stops pacing and pulls out his phone. The screen lights up, showing the missed calls. He scrolls grimly. I grab my phone, still littered with Emily's unanswered calls. 52 missed calls, and a string of texts, a waterfall of panic I hadn't even opened. Then a new one caught my eye. It had come in while I was driving. Emily, Nathan, please. I'm coming home. I'm on my way back. We need to talk. Nathan's face hardens. He stares at the message. Coming home. She was supposed to be in Miami until Sunday. It was Friday morning, just 1:30 a.m. She wasn't in Miami. She'd never even left. The girls' trip was a lie from the start. This wasn't just panic. It was a retreat. Was she folding? Was she coming back to spin an even bigger, more elaborate lie? Or was this just another move in her game? I typed a reply. Don't bother. Then I deleted it. I typed again. Who is he? Deleted. No. I wasn't going to play on her terms. Not this time. I wasn't going to let her walk in, cry, feed me some sob story, and watch me melt. Not again. I needed someone who wasn't me. Someone who wasn't going to get emotional. Someone who wouldn't be fooled by her lawyer tricks. I scrolled past her name, past Sarah's, and dialed my brother. Lucas. Video. Split screen, or a cut to Nathan looking more resolved. He's making a decision. Lucas lives an hour away in Dayton. He's my only brother, and he's a complete opposite of me. Where I'm quiet, he's loud. Where I'm careful, he's impulsive. Lucas is a guy who once punched a hole in a bar wall over a bad poker hand, but he's also the most loyal person I've ever known. He sees the world in black and white, right and wrong, no gray area. If anyone could help me think through this chaos, cut through the emotional crap, it was him. He picked up on the fourth ring, his voice a gravelly groan. Nate? What the hell's up? It's 1:30 in the morning. Emily's cheating on me. I just blurted it out. The words tasted like acid, like something rotten I'd been holding in. Saying it out loud to another person made it real. It wasn't just a suspicion in my head anymore. It was a fact, solid and sharp, and I could feel it cutting me. The line was silent for a beat. Then a low whistle. Damn, man. Damn. You sure? I mean, it's Emily. She's always been, well, Emily. Controlled. His doubt stung, but it was fair. He was right. Emily wasn't impulsive. She was a planner. You got proof? He asked, his voice already more awake, sharper. Like proof? Pictures? Text you saw? This was the hard part. Not yet, I admitted, and I hated how small my voice sounded. But I'm not crazy, Lucas. She's hiding something big. She's on a girls' trip, but she blocked my number. And there's this guy, Derek. I saw his name on her phone, and when I asked her about it, she called me pathetic. Then she freaked out when I left. I told him everything. The fight, the weird, rehearsed call from Sarah, the name Derek, the 52 missed calls. Lucas listened. He didn't interrupt. When I was done, he just said, Okay, so she's a liar. That we know. But you need to find out what she's lying about. You're thinking it's this Derek guy. It has to be, I said. Right. So you're sitting there like a chump. Go look. Get into her email. Get into her computer. People like her, ambitious, smart, arrogant. They think they're too smart to get caught. They slip up somewhere. They leave a trail. Passwords, receipts, something. You just got to find it. Her email. Why hadn't I thought of that? It was so obvious. Nathan's eyes go wide. He looks across the hall to the small room we use as a study. Her laptop. I whispered. What? Lucas said. She left her old laptop. Her old MacBook. She got a new one from her firm, a fancy Windows thing. But she kept her old one for, I don't know, personal stuff. It's in the study. She left it behind. She probably thought I wouldn't dare. Well, dare, Lucas said, his voice hard. Go on. I'll stay on the line. No, I'll call you back. I hung up before he could argue. My heart was pounding. A different kind of pounding than before. This wasn't just fear. It was adrenaline. I was doing something. I was acting. I walked into the study and flipped on the desk lamp. There it was, tucked under a pile of old magazines. Her sleek, silver MacBook. I sat down and opened it. The login screen glowed, illuminating my face. Just her name, Emily Carter, and a password field. I typed her usual password. Our anniversary. 0718. The screen shook. Password incorrect. Okay. I tried her birthday. Password incorrect. I tried a variation. Her maiden name and our anniversary. Password incorrect. My fingers hovered over keyboard. My mind was racing. What would she use? Something she'd remember, but I wouldn't guess. Then a sick, cold thought wormed its way into my brain. What about his name? It was a long shot. It was a paranoid, insane leap. But I was the jealous high school teenager, right? My fingers trembled. I typed DRK, and then, my hand moving on its own, I typed the numbers. 0-7-1-8, Derek, and our anniversary. I hit enter. The screen didn't shake. The screen unlocked. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My breath caught in my chest. The coincidence. No, not a coincidence. The choice. The deliberate, sick choice of that password felt like a slap. Harder than any word she'd thrown at me in the kitchen. I pushed the feeling down. I had to. I opened her mail client. Hundreds of messages loaded. Most were junk, old newsletters, promotions from stores we hadn't been to in years. But one thread stood out. It was buried in a folder I'd never seen her use. A folder just labeled miscellaneous. The subject line was just one word. Tonight. The sender, Derek Harper. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely control the mouse. I knew. I just knew. Whatever I found when I clicked this, it would change everything. The truth was one click away, and it terrified me. Video, close up on Nathan's face, illuminated only by the white-blue glow of the MacBook screen. His eyes are wide, his expression a mix of nausea and grim determination. We see his finger tremble as it hovers over the trackpad. The glow of Emily's laptop burned my eyes. It felt like I was staring directly into an interrogation lamp, and in a way I was interrogating the ghost of my marriage. In front of me, in her miscellaneous folder, was the email from Derek Harper. Subject, tonight. Tonight, the word just pulsed on the screen, a heartbeat in all that white space, daring me to click. Every nerve in my body, every decent, trusting part of me that still existed, was screaming to turn back, to close the laptop, to delete the search history, go to bed and pretend. Pretend I hadn't cracked her password. Oh, God, the password. Derek 0718. That was the part that was really twisting the knife. He wasn't just a separate, secret part of her life. She had merged him with us. She had taken our anniversary. Our day, the day I had stood in a rented tux, sweating and smiling so hard my face hurt, and she had welded it to his name. It was a code that was so much more than a code. It was a desecration. It was a betrayal carved into 8 simple characters. But I'd come too far. The truth was a splinter, buried deep under the skin. It had been festering for months, poisoning everything. I couldn't ignore the infection anymore. I had to dig it out, no matter how much it bled. My finger, shaking, finally pressed down. I clicked. Video. A quick shot of the email opening. The text is minimal. Nathan's eyes scan it, his expression hardening. The email was short. It was too short. It was the kind of email people send when they've already said everything that matters in person or over text on a platform I probably didn't even know existed. It just read, "Meet me at the usual spot. 9 p.m. Don't overthink it." And a sign-off that wasn't even a sign-off. Not love, Derek. Not CUD. Just his name. Derek. Sitting there at the bottom. A taunt. A signature on the death certificate of my marriage. My stomach churned. The bile rose in my throat. The usual spot. Nathan leans back from the laptop, as if struck. He runs a hand over his face. Not a spot. Not that new bar. The usual spot. This wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time slip-up. This was a routine. A habit. A ritual. How many times had they met there? How many times had she worked late? How many dinners had I cooked, waiting for her, only to eat mine alone and put her plate in the fridge, covered in plastic wrap? My mind flashed unbidden to a specific night. I scrolled up, checking the date on the email. 2 weeks ago, a Tuesday. Video, a brief, slightly hazy flashback. A plate of spaghetti covered in foil. Nathan looks at the clock. 9:30 p.m. He sighs and starts eating alone at the kitchen table. I'd made spaghetti, her favorite, or what I thought was her favorite. I'd waited. 8 p.m., 9 p.m. At 9:15 she'd texted, just buried in a deposition. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. She was at the usual spot with him. While I was leaving her a plate of cold spaghetti in the fridge, she'd come home at midnight. I pretended to be asleep, but I wasn't. I'd watched her through my eyelashes as she got ready for bed. She was quiet, but she was humming that little tune she hums when she's happy, and she smelled of perfume. A perfume I didn't recognize. Musky, expensive. Not the light, floral scent I'd bought her for Christmas. I leaned back in the desk chair, the cheap wood creaking under my weight. The study's walls felt like they were closing in. This was my room, my sanctuary, my books, my papers, and I had just invited this filth into it. My eyes landed on the wall above the desk, on our wedding photo. It was from the reception. We were dancing. I was spinning her, and she was laughing, her head thrown back, her eyes squeezed shut in pure, unadulterated joy. Her smile was frozen in a moment I thought was ours, a moment I'd built a whole life around. Now, it felt like a prop, a piece of set dressing in her long, elaborate performance. And I was the fool in the audience who thought the play was real. My goal was to know who she really was. It felt closer now, but the ground under my feet was crumbling. Was she in love with him? Was this just a fling, a midlife crisis? Or was it something else? Something colder, something calculated, like the way she'd sliced me open in our kitchen? Nathan turns back to laptop, his face a mask of cold resolve. The hurt is gone, replaced by a grim academic focus. I was done being the husband. It was time to be the historian. To dig. I went back to her inbox. I put Derek Harper into the search bar. A few hits. Case updates, Johnson file. Group email. Q3 projections forward. Firm holiday party details. All work. All of it. Case updates. Group emails from the firm. I clicked on a few. They were sterile. Corporate. Nothing personal. It was just noise. Chaff. It was too clean. People this smart. People this calculated. They don't leave love letters in their main inbox. I sat back. I'm a chess player. I coach the club. You have to think ahead. Where do you hide something? Not where it's obvious. Where do you put things you're afraid of, but not ready to delete forever? Where does the digital trash go? I navigated to her trash folder, and there it was. My breath hitched. It felt like my heart just stopped. A deleted email from Derek, sent 3 days ago. The subject line was just 2 words. Subject, you sure? Close up on Nathan's hand, shaking as it moves the cursor to click on the deleted email. My body was screaming at me. Stop. Stop now. This is the last stop. You can't unsee this. You can't go back. I clicked. The email was even shorter than the last one. Just 2 lines. This is bigger than us. M. If you're in, we need to move fast. I read it again. And again. This is bigger than us. M. If you're in, we need to move fast. My blood ran cold. This didn't sound like an affair anymore. Bigger than us? If you're in, move fast. This wasn't the language of 2 people sneaking around. This was the language of co-conspirators. This wasn't a love letter. It was a plan, a scheme. My mind, a history teacher's mind, started racing, connecting dots I hadn't even seen. Emily's ambition, her ruthlessness in the courtroom, the high-stakes case Sarah mentioned, the new, expensive perfume, her sudden, cold cruelty. What was bigger than us? Embezzlement? Blackmail? Something tied to her firm? Insider trading? Emily was ambitious. I knew that. I'd love that about her. Her drive. Her fire. But this felt like a line even she wouldn't cross. Or would she? Had I ever really known her at all? A loud, sharp sound from outside. A car door slamming. Nathan jolts, his heart leaping into his throat. He snaps the laptop shut, the screen going black. Video. Frantic, shaky camera movement as Nathan scrambles. He looks out the window, peering through the slats of the blinds. Oh, God! Emily's silver Audi was in the driveway. Her silhouette was climbing out. Her phone pressed her ear. She was back. She was home. She wasn't supposed to be home. She was supposed to be in Miami. Or at least on her way. She was here. My pulse hammered against my ribs. So hard I thought it would break free. Had Sarah warned her? Did she know I was in her email? Was she here to confront me? To spin another lie? To do damage control? To handle me? I looked down at the laptop in my hands. It felt like a bomb. I had to hide it. My hands were shaking, fumbling. I looked around the study, frantic. Where? I shoved it under a stack of old magazines. I'd found it under Columbus Monthly, The Atlantic. It wasn't a good hiding place. It was terrible. It was the first place she'd look if she knew. I was acting like some amateur thief, caught in the act in my own damn home. The front door creaked open. The click, click, click of her heels on the hardwood floor. A sound that used to mean home. Now it sounded like a countdown. Nathan? Her voice. It was tight. Not angry. Not yet. But nervous. Like she was testing the air. Sniffing for trouble. I stayed silent. Frozen in the study. Hidden in the dark. My mind was a chessboard. And the pieces were spinning. I wanted to storm out. To throw that laptop at her feet. To scream at her. Who is Derek? What's the usual spot? What is bigger than U.S.? But something held me back. That last email. This wasn't just about a lover. She was hiding a secret that could ruin us. Both of us. In a way that had nothing to do with our vows. I stepped out of the study. Into the hallway. My shadow falling long across her path. She froze. Her hand was still on the doorknob. Her eyes, wide and searching in the dim light, locked onto mine. And for the first time, not defiance, not anger, not contempt. For the first time that night, I saw fear in her face. A long, tense beat. Close up on Nathan's cold, steady gaze. The game had shifted, and I was no longer just a pawn. The scene holds on Nathan's face, which is a mask of grim, hollow-eyed victory. We are still in the living room. Emily is a broken shape on the floor, her sobs the only sound. The shot slowly pushes in on Nathan as he holds the phone to his ear, listening to his brother. Send it to me. I cut in everything you've got. I forwarded Lucas's file, the one labeled Harper_dig, to my friend at the Columbus Dispatch, a reporter, a good one, who'd owe me a favor since I helped him with a historical piece on the city's founding. It was a long shot, but it was another move, another piece on the board. Nate! Lucas's voice was tinny in my ear, sharp with a new kind of panic. Nate, what did you just do? You didn't send that to media, did you? I sent that to you. That was for you. I need it out there, I said, my voice cold, detached. I was still looking at Emily. Her shoulders were shaking. I need leverage. I need it to be too big to bury. Leverage? Nate, you're not in a damn movie. Victor Grayson? You don't get leverage on him. You get a target on your back. You're a high school history teacher. What are you thinking? I hung up. I just clicked a button. The silence in the room was a vacuum, rushing in to fill the space. It was broken only by Emily's awful, gasping sobs. She'd pulled her knees to her chest, her damp hair clinging to her face, the picture of a broken victim. But I couldn't see her as a victim. Not anymore. You've killed us both, she whispered, her voice raw from crying. You've killed us. You did this, I said, my voice flat. The adrenaline from the win, from playing my queen, was already draining away, leaving something else. A cold metallic dread. You brought this into our home. You and Derek. She looked up at me, and her face, it wasn't the face of a cheating wife. It wasn't the face of a slick lawyer. The mask was gone. All of them. This was just raw, animal terror. Her eyes were so wide the white showed all around, her lipstick smeared, her face pale and slick with tears. You sent it, she breathed. It wasn't a question. It was an epitaph. You really sent it. You gave me no choice, I said, but the words felt weak, even to me. You lied about everything. And then something in her snapped. She didn't just get up. She scrambled to her feet like a cornered animal. Her voice changed, the sobs cut off, replaced by a low, ragged hiss that was more terrifying than any scream. Choice, she hissed, stumbling toward me, her hands clenched at her sides. You think this was about choice? You think I chose this? You absolute naive fool. She was jabbing her finger at my chest, and I actually took a step back. The shift was that jarring. I was trying to fix it, she screamed, her voice cracking. "I was trying to protect you. Derek and I, we were in over our heads. We knew it. We were drowning. We were trying to find a way out, a way to get the money back before he found out it was gone." "Him?" I scoffed, the sound bitter. "You mean Derek? Your lover? The guy you named our anniversary after?" The word lover just bounced off her. It didn't even register. "No. Grayson. Victor Grayson," she shrieked, and she grabbed the front of my shirt, her nails digging in. "You idiot. You think this is some white-collar crime show on TV? You think you're a hero? A whistleblower? You just painted a target on your own back. On my back. On your brother's back. On everyone you've ever spoken to." I froze. "What are you talking about?" "That reporter," she laughed, that same horrible, hollow laugh in the kitchen. "Your friend at the Dispatch? Do you think Grayson's people don't have contacts at the goddamn Dispatch? Do you think they don't have alerts set up for his name? They'll know who the source was before that story even gets vetted. They'll trace the IP. They'll know you did this. And they'll know you got the information from me." Her words hit me, one by one, like ice water. I hadn't thought of that. The reporter was a friend, but how good a friend, how secure was his email? I'm a history teacher. I don't know about firewalls and data leaks. I just sent it. Emily's grip on my shirt tightened. Her voice dropped to a terrified, conspiratorial whisper, a whisper that was louder than her screams. "He's not just a big player, Nathan. He's not just bad news. He's a monster. He's a butcher. People who cross him don't go to court. They don't get fined. They disappear. They have accidents. Their families fall on hard times. Their pets die. Their kids get hurt." She was hyperventilating now, her eyes darting toward the windows, as if she expected to see him standing there. "You didn't just burn your world down, Nathan," she whispered, her words slicing through my self-righteous haze. You just signed our death warrant, both of us. The chessboard metaphor, the idea of playing my queen, it all just evaporated. It felt so stupid, so childish. This wasn't a game. I hadn't won. I just knocked over the entire table and set the house on fire, not realizing the whole place was rigged to blow. The justice I'd felt, that wasn't justice. It was just petty, blind revenge. And it was going to get me killed. My phone buzzed in my hand. I nearly dropped it. I looked down. It was Lucas. "Call me. Now. This isn't a joke." I backed away from Emily, my hands shaking. "I'm leaving." My voice was a croak. "Leaving?" She laughed, that broken, terrifying laugh. "Where are you going to go, Nathan? You can't hide from him. He has people everywhere. The police? You think you can call the police? Half of them are on his payroll. He owns this city." "I'm going to Lucas's," I said, my car keys suddenly feeling heavy in my pocket. I needed to get them. "You're going to lead them right to him," she cried, grabbing for my arm again. "Don't you see? You're a liability. And you're going to make your brother a liability, too." I shook her off. Hard. "Don't touch me. You did this. You brought this monster into our lives. You and Derek." The name just hung there. Derek, the source of it all. The polished smile. The cocky grin. Derek 0718. Emily's face, which had been contorted in rage and fear, suddenly crumpled. It was a different kind of pain. A new, deeper and quieter one. "Derek's dead," she whispered. I froze. My hand was on the doorknob. "What?" "I think he's dead, Nathan," she said, in the tears. These tears were different. They weren't for show. They weren't panic. They were grief. That's why I came home. I was lying about Miami. Derek, he was supposed to meet me there. He had a plan. He said it a way to get the money back, to pay Grayson back what he skimmed. She was sliding down the wall, her legs giving out. He never showed up, Nathan. He never got on the plane. His phone, it's been off for 24 hours. I called his apartment. I called his mom. Nothing. He's just gone. My mind flashed to the email. Tonight, the usual spot. The usual spot. I said, my voice numb. It was a dead drop, she whispered, reading my mind. A storage locker. It's where he kept his information, the ledgers, the DH consulting files. I went there after he didn't show. I was going to destroy it all. She was rocking back and forth, hugging her knees. It was empty, Nathan. Cleaned out. Everything was gone. And there was There was bleach. The smell. It was so strong. Someone had cleaned it, scrubbed it. He's gone. They took him. And now they're coming for me. Derek wasn't a king. He wasn't even a knight. He was just another pawn. And he'd already been taken off the board, which meant I was the only person left who knew. My phone buzzed again. Hard. I jumped. Emily flinched. I looked down. It wasn't Lucas. It wasn't the reporter. It was an unknown number. A text message. My blood turned to ice. It contained only 3 words. We see you. I looked up from the phone. Slowly, I looked at Emily, her face white with a new, shared terror. She had seen my expression. What? She whispered. What is it? I didn't answer. I just walked to the living room window, pulled the curtain back an inch, across the street, parked under a broken streetlight, in a space that is never used. A black sedan, tinted windows. It wasn't there when I got home. I would have noticed. And as I stood there, a shadow in my own window, the headlights flashed. Once. Twice. Video. The camera is tight on Nathan's face, which is pale, his eyes wide. He's staring out the window, the curtain still clutched in his hand. The phone in his other hand is still lit up with the text. We see you. The words burned into my retinas. They weren't a threat, not a warning. They were a simple statement of fact. This wasn't metaphor. It was a live feed. My hand, the one holding the curtain, was shaking so hard the fabric rustled. I looked at the black sedan. It was just sitting there, an ordinary car, parked under the broken streetlight that's been out for a month. But it was a void, a black hole in the middle of my quiet, suburban street. And as I watched, my heart froze in my chest. The headlights flashed. Once. Twice. A cold, digital blink. A casual hello. They weren't just watching. They were talking to me. They were toying with me. They were letting me know the game I thought I was playing was over, and I had lost. What? Emily's voice was a whisper from the floor. She had scrambled to her feet, her terror sudden, electric mirror of my own. She stumbled over to me, her eyes darting between my face and the window. Nathan, what is it? What did you see? My voice was a dry croak. I couldn't seem to make it work. I just nodded. I let the curtain fall from my numb fingers, plunging the room back into its dim, shadowy state. A car, I finally whispered. The words felt thick, like mud in my mouth. Across the street, a black sedan. They flashed their lights. I held up the phone, the screen still glowing with those 3 words. I got a text. We see you. Emily's breath didn't just hitch. It was a physical, violent gasp, like she'd been punched in the gut. The last, tiny bit of color drained from her face, leaving her a pale, waxy gray. Oh, God. Oh, God, Nathan. They're here. I told you so was gone. The anger was gone. It was all just gone, replaced by a pure, uncut panic that was so primal, it was almost suffocating. She wasn't the lawyer. She wasn't the unfaithful wife. She was just prey. And I was the one who had led the wolves to the door. My phone, the one still in my hand, buzzed again. Hard. A different buzz. An incoming call. Lucas. His name flashed on the screen, a beacon of the normal world I had just incinerated. This time, the call didn't feel like an interruption. It felt like a lifeline and a liability all at once. I jabbed the accept button, my thumb slipping on the glass. Lucas, I hissed. My voice was a dry rasp. I didn't even wait for him to speak. Get out. Get out of your house. Right now. Nate? What the hell? His voice was a shout, tinny and full of static. I'm trying to tell you, you're in... No, you listen to me. I shouted, my voice cracking with hysteria I couldn't control. I messed up. I messed up worse than you can possibly imagine. They're here, at my house. They are watching me. And if they're watching me, they're probably watching you, too. You're compromised. I walked frantic into the kitchen, pulling Emily with me. I needed to get away from the front window, as if that would somehow make me invisible. Nate, what are you talking about? Lucas's voice was dropping, the confusion giving way to the same fear that was coursing through my veins. I'd given it to him. A gift. The file you sent me. I hissed, pacing the linoleum. It's compromised. They know. They know everything. Victor Grayson. He's not just some white-collar criminal. Lucas. He's Grayson. And he's here. A black car. A text. I'm not kidding. Get your keys and leave. Go somewhere public. A 24-hour diner. A police station, I don't care. Just get out of your house. Don't pack. Don't do anything. Just run. I'll call you when I can. There was a pause. A terrible, heavy silence where I could hear him breathing. I could hear the sound of a chair scraping. Nate! The fear in his voice was raw. I'd put it there. Okay, I'm going. Be safe. Go. I hung up. I stared at my phone. The phone that had been my weapon. Now it was just a tracking device. A liability. He's right. Emily was saying. Her voice was low, frantic monotone. She was on her feet, but she wasn't pacing like a lawyer. She was pacing like a trapped animal, her eyes darting from the door to the window, to me, your brother. They're watching him. They're watching us. We can't stay here. The phones. Oh, God, the phones. Her eyes went wide, like she just realized her own stupidity. She grabbed her own phone from the console table where she dropped it hours, lifetimes, ago. Then she looked at mine. Give it to me? What? Your phone. Give it to me. Now. Her hand was out, palm up. I was too stunned, too broken, to argue. I gave it to her. She snatched them both, ran to the kitchen, yanked open the door of the microwave, the one with the clock that had started all this, and threw both phones inside. She slammed the door shut. I just stared at her. Were you? It's a Faraday cage. She snapped her back to me. Her hands were braced on the counter. Sort of. It's a long shot. But the metal mesh, it might block the signal. It might. Maybe it blocks the microphone. Maybe it buys us a minute where they can't hear us. She turned around, and I saw it. The shift. I was just standing there. The history teacher. The chess coach. The naive fool who had read a few files and thought he could take down a kingpin. I was completely, utterly, disastrously useless. And she, the woman I despised, the woman who'd broken my world, she was the only one thinking. Her mind, her sharp, calculating lawyer's mind, it was the only thing we had. My truth and justice were just words. Her survival was a plan. The back door, she said, and she crossed the room in 2 strides and grabbed my arm. Her hand was ice cold, her grip like a vice. We have to go out the back. Now. We'll hop the fence into the miller's yard. We can cut through their garden, get to the next street over. They're watching the front. They might not be watching the back. Not yet. And then what? I whispered. My feet finally moved, stumbling as I followed her. Where do we go, Emily? You said he owns the city. I don't know, she hissed, pulling me through the dark dining room, toward the back of the house. Anywhere but here. We need to get out of Columbus. We need to disappear. She stopped. We were at the back door, the small glass-pane door that led to the patio we were going to fix up someday. Her hand was on the deadbolt, but she didn't turn it. She was frozen, listening. What? I breathed. What is it? Sure. I listened. The only sound was my own blood roaring in my ears, the sound of my own ragged breathing. I don't hear anything, I whispered. Exactly, she said, her voice a tiny lost sound. I don't hear the refrigerator. And she was right. The low, constant, comforting hum of our house was gone. The digital clock on the oven was dark. The microwave clock, the one that started all this, the one now holding our phones, it wasn't glowing. Click. The sound came from a hallway near the front of the house. Not from us. A heavy metallic click, like a breaker switch being thrown. It was followed by a heavy, definitive clunk. Video. The entire screen cuts to pure, absolute, suffocating black. The only audio is breathing. No. Emily's voice was a terrified gasp, right next to me in the dark. They cut the power. I grabbed her, yanking her back from the glass door, pulling her against the wall, into the deeper shadow of the pantry. We were in the pitch black. The glow from the street lights? Gone. The friendly, ambient light of the suburbs? Gone. They hadn't just cut our power. They'd cut the street. I could hear my own heart. It was a pathetic, frantic, bird-like flutter in my chest. I could hear her, trying to muffle her breathing. And then from the front of the house, a new sound. A sound that wasn't a clock. A sound that wasn't a car. The sound of heavy boots on our gravel walkway. One person. Then two. Crunch. 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 They weren't seeing us anymore. They weren't warning us. I squeezed my eyes shut as if that would make me safer. And then the sound came. The sound that split the night in my life in two. The sharp, deafening, splintering crack of our front door being kicked in. The heavy thud of the door hitting the wall. The jingle of the broken lock. A beat of silence in the dark. Then a new text-to-speech voice, robotic and cold, calls out from their phone, in our living room. "We know you're in here, Nathan, and we just want to talk." Video. The screen is pure, suffocating black. The only audio is a pair of ragged, terrified breaths. Nathan's and Emily's. They are sharp, too loud gasps for air. "We know you're in here, Nathan, and we just want to talk." The breathing stops. A beat of absolute, crushing silence. The voice. It wasn't human. It was that cold, robotic, text-to-speech voice from phone. The kind of voice you get from a GPS that's about to lead you off a cliff. It echoed from the living room, bouncing off our walls, off the wedding photo on the mantel, off the couch we'd picked out together. It was a lie, and the impersonal nature of it, the tech of it, made the lie so much worse. It was a mockery. It was him saying, "We don't even need to use our own voices. You're not worth the effort." My heart didn't just stop. It felt like it had collapsed in on itself. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I was a statue. A 34-year-old history teacher, frozen in the dark, pressed against the pantry wall. I was just waiting for the end. Thwack. Emily's hand, a flat palm, slammed into my chest. Hard. It wasn't a loving shill or a comforting pat. It was a short, sharp, violent impact. It was her in the dark, screaming at me without a sound. "Wake up. Do not fold. Wake up." I sucked in a breath. It was a gasp, a tear in the silence, and I was sure they'd heard it, but it didn't matter. From the living room, a new sound, a murmur, not robotic. This was real. A man's voice, low, calm, professional. "Upstairs. You check. I'll take the main floor." My blood went from ice to nothing. It just evaporated. Two of them. There were two of them, at least. "Go!" Emily's lips were at my ear. Her breath was hot and smelled like the coppery tang of pure adrenaline. "Now, to the back door. Crawl." Crawl? My brain couldn't compute. I'm a man, in my own house. I have a mortgage. I grade papers on the Constitution. I'm not, but my knees were already on the floor. The linoleum in the kitchen was freezing, the cold seeping right through my pants. It was sticky in one spot. I'd spilled orange juice this morning. This morning. Was that this life? A life where I spilled juice and worried about being late for first period? It felt like a story I'd read about someone else. Then my hands hit the hardwood of the dining room. This is a part of the story, the part of the movie where I am supposed to have a moment. I'm supposed to grab the butcher knife from the block. I'm supposed to remember a scene from a movie, some action hero move. I'm supposed to find my courage. Video. The camera is tight on Nathan's face. He is talking directly to the audience, his voice a low, urgent, confessional whisper. "I need you to understand what I'm about to say. I'm not that guy. I'm not the hero. I'm the guy who plays chess. I'm the guy who hides, who reads, who thinks. I'm the guy who, in that moment, was pretty sure he was about to lose control of his own bladder. I didn't think about fighting. I didn't think about anything but the sound of those boots. Thump, thump, thump. Heavy, slow, methodical, on the stairs. One of them was going up to our bedroom, up to my study, where my books were, up to the room where I found the emails that had started this apocalypse. The other one, he was on the main floor, with us. We were in the dining room, on our hands and knees. The back door, the glass-pane door to the patio, was maybe 15 feet away. It looked like a mile. It was an endless, open, wooden desert. And then, the desert was flooded with light. Whoosh, a beam, a brilliant, terrifying cone of white light, slicing through the darkness from the living room. It was a tactical flashlight, the kind that blinds you. The beam, it was sweeping, slowly, methodically. Sweep, sweep, clear. The man's voice called out. It was bored. Do you understand? He was bored, like he was checking inventory, like he was an exterminator looking for rats. The beam swept across the dining room archway, just feet from where Emily and I were huddled against the wall behind the dining table. For half a second, I saw her, illuminated in that harsh, white light. Her face was a mask of pure, primal horror. Her eyes were just two black holes. Her mouth was a perfect O of a silent scream. Then the light passed. Darkness rushed back in. But it wasn't a comfort. It wasn't a blanket. It was just a holding cell. It was the space between the sweeps of the spotlight. "Kitchen," the voice said, and the footsteps. Click, clack, click, clack, on the hardwood, coming toward us. He was going to walk right past us. He was going to the kitchen. Emily didn't wait. She didn't freeze. She's not me. She grabbed my shirt, a fistful of it, and pulled. We weren't crawling. We were scrambling. A low, desperate, crab-like scuttle, try and stay below the line of the windows. 10 feet, 5 feet, we were at the back door. My knee, my stupid, clumsy knee, it hit the leg of the dining room chair I'd pushed back from breakfast this morning. Thwack, a loud, sharp wooden crack. It wasn't a gunshot, but in that silence, it might as well have been. The footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was a physical weight. Then, click, the beam of light snapped on, not sweeping, pointed, aimed, right at the dining room. "Go, go, go," Emily hissed. She was on her knees at the door. Her hands were fumbling with the locks. Not a lock. Locks. The one on the knob. And the deadbolt. The FING deadbolt. The one I had insisted on installing. The one I'd spent a whole Saturday screwing in, because it made me feel safe. Click-clack. The sound of the latch on the knob turning was like a firecracker. Back door. The man's voice wasn't bored anymore. It was a roar. The beam of the flashlight found us. It pinned us. I was a bug on a board, illuminated, helpless. I couldn't even see him. Just the light. Emily, God, Emily, she wasn't fumbling. She was precise. Her hand found the deadbolt knob. Shing-click. The sound of the deadbolt retracting was the loudest sound I've ever heard. She didn't pull the door. She threw her shoulder into it, like a linebacker. The door flew open. Cold night air, smelling of cut grass and freedom. "Run!" she screamed, her voice no longer a whisper. It was a full-on, defiant roar. I've never run like that. I'm not a runner. I'm the chess coach. I get winded walking up the school stairs. This wasn't running. This was fleeing. This was an animal escaping the trap. We burst out onto the patio. The concrete was cold and gritty under my socks. The grill, the half-dead potted plants. All of it illuminated. The backyard wasn't dark. Not like the house. The moon, the stupid, betraying moon, was full. It was a giant, silver spotlight, painting our entire backyard in pale, ghostly light. We were completely, totally exposed. "The fence!" I yelled, finally finding my own voice. "The Miller's fence. Go!" It was at the back of the yard. 50 feet. We were halfway across the lawn. The grass was wet with dew, cold, clinging to my feet. A shout from behind us, from inside the house. "Stop. Don't move." And then another light, from upstairs, from my bedroom window. The second man. He had his light on us. We were caught, pinned between two of them. And then a sound I'd only ever heard in movies. A sound that, in the moment, I didn't even recognize. A soft, polite, like compressed air can. It was followed, an instant later, by a crack. A sound like a firecracker, exploding right next to my ear. A chunk of mulch, from the little flower bed we never planted, exploded into the air, right where I was about to step, with chips dirt stinging my face. He wasn't flashing a light. He had a gun, a silencer. He was shooting at us. That wasn't a talk. That wasn't a warning. They were here to erase the problem. My legs just, they stopped working. They weren't mine. They buckled. I didn't get hit. I fell like a marionette with the strings cut. I hit the wet grass hard. The air knocked out of me. "Nathan!" Emily screamed my name. She had reached the fence. She had her hand on the latch to the Miller's yard. She was out, and she turned back for me. She turned back. Another from the window. This one. I heard this one. I heard the crackle in the air as it passed. But this one wasn't for me. This one, Emily, she was at the fence. She just stood there. She looked confused. She looked down at her robe, the old, worn-out one I'd gotten her for Christmas 5 years ago. There was a A dark spot, right in the center. It was small, and it was getting bigger. Video, extreme slow motion. Nathan is on the ground, looking up. Emily is at the fence. She touches the spot. Her fingers come away dark. She looks at her fingers, her expression one of annoyance, confusion. She looks at me. Her mouth opens, but nothing comes out. Hard cut to black. Video starts right at the moment Nathan falls through the fence gate. His breath is a wheezing, broken sound. He's in the Garciga's backyard. A dog is barking, deafening, frantic. The lights in the Garciga's house flick on, casting a yellow trapezoid onto the lawn. Who's out there? The shout echoes from inside the Garciga's house. A man's voice, sleepy but angry. Behind me, a crash. A terrible, splintering sound of wood. The big man. He hadn't climbed the miller's fence. He'd broken it. He was in the miller's yard. Dogs barking. West side, he yelled. The barking. The lights. The shouting. Chaos. And in a microsecond, my stupid brain, my history teacher bookworm brain, my chess coach brain, it worked. They'd made a mistake. The guy in the window, he'd used a silencer. Puff, puff, stealth. That was the plan. But the guy on the ground, he'd fired a real shot. That bang. The bang that had finished Emily. The bang that had woken up the neighborhood. And now they were breaking fences. They were yelling. They weren't stealthy anymore. They were sloppy. And chaos was my camouflage. I didn't run from the Garciga's light. I ran for it. I heard the man behind me, cursing, trying to climb the next fence, the one I'd just fallen through. Bark, bark, bark. The Garciga's dog, a shepherd I only knew from his bark, was on the other side of a chain-link fence, frantic. I scrambled across the Garciga's yard. They had a deflated bounce castle, kids' toys scattered everywhere. A normal world I had just shattered. I didn't run for Front Street. Too exposed. I dove into the narrow space between the Garciga's house and the next one, a dark pathway. I heard another crash. They'd broken the Garciga's gate. They were on the street. Tires squealed. The black sedan? I didn't know. I didn't look. I just ran. I was on pavement. My socks soaked with dew and that they were shredding. The rough asphalt was tearing up the soles of my feet. Pain. I didn't care. I crossed the street. Then another. Just running. No thought. Just an animal. Trying to live. My breath was a rip in my chest. My lungs were on fire. The cut on my cheek, it was bleeding. I could taste the salt, the metal of it. I don't know how long I ran. 5 minutes? An hour? The world shrank. Just my breathing. The scrape of pavement under my feet. And the ringing in my ears, that high-pitched whine. The sound after Emily, after the bang. I saw an alley. Between a laundromat and a closed pizza shop. I dove in, ran past bags of garbage. The stench hit me, thick and sour. I tripped, fell into a metal dumpster, making a god-awful clang. I lay there, a heap of rags, panting on the filthy ground, waiting for footsteps, for shouts, for the puff. Video, close up on Nathan, huddled behind the dumpster. He is shaking violently. The camera focuses on his breath, which is starting to slow, turning into sobs. Nothing. No footsteps. No squealing tires. Just, in the distance, a siren. 1. Then 2. The sirens were heading toward my house. That's right. The bang. The neighbors. They'd call the cops. I should have felt relieved. But I heard Emily's voice, ringing in my head, as clear as if she were right here, whispering. Half of them are on his payroll, Nathan. I couldn't go to the cops. I couldn't call Lucas. God, Lucas. Was he okay? I told him to run. Did I just get my brother killed? I couldn't go home. That house, it wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene. I huddled, the shaking starting. Not from fear. From cold. I was suddenly aware. I was in an alley, in a t-shirt, sleep pants, and shredded socks. It was November. In Ohio, the cold was seeping in. A deep bone cold. And it seemed to be putting out the shock. And with the cold came the pain. My feet were screaming. And my cheek, it was throbbing. Video, Nathan slowly, shaking, brings a hand to his cheek. He looks at his fingers in the dim alley light. It wasn't my blood. No. The camera focuses on both of Nathan's hands. He holds them out. They were covered. In the weak light of the alley, they just looked black, dry, sticky. They were sticky with her, my hand. It had landed right on her hand, on the gate latch. The warm hand, the bloody hand, Emily's blood. No, I moaned. No, no, no. I started scratching. I scraped my hands against the rough brick wall of the alley. Frantic, I had to get it off. I had to get it off. I scraped until the skin tore, until my own blood started to well up, mixing with her drying stain. It didn't work. It just made it worse. I turned. I dry heaved. Nothing in my stomach. Just a raw, painful spasm that tore at my throat. I slid down, leaned my back against the brick, and I saw her. I closed my eyes. I saw her, at the fence, her confused expression. Then her eyes, locking with mine. The fury, the contempt, and the final command. Run. Nathan opens his eyes. The shaking has stopped. The sobbing has stopped. Something new, cold, and hollow is taking its place. They would find her. The cops. Grayson's cops. They'd find her at the fence, with a bullet in her, and they'd find a house ransacked. Hey! A botched robbery. No, they'd find a neighbor, like Mr. Garciga, who'd say, I heard them fighting all night. They'd find Sarah, who'd say, he was threatening her. He sounded unstable. They'd find a fight, a dead wife, and a husband who had vanished. I was the suspect. No, I wasn't the suspect. I was the frame. It was a chess game, and I thought I was playing, but I was just a pawn. That bang! It was a mistake. It was part of the plan. It wasn't to kill her. It was the signal, to wake the witnesses, to create the narrative. A tragic domestic dispute. The jealous husband is on the run. They would hunt me, not just the two hitters. Everyone. The real cops would hunt me for murder. And Grayson's killers would hunt me to silence me. I was trapped. I was dead. Nathan gets to his feet. He moves stiffly like a puppet. He's not a trembling teacher anymore. He's something else. Something cornered. I had no phone. It was in the microwave. Evidence. Against me. I had no wallet. I had no shoes. I had nothing. I reached into the pocket of my sleep pants. My hand. My bloody, filthy hand. It touched something. Metal. Cold. I pulled it out. Video. Close up on Nathan's bloody, trembling hand. In his palm is a set of keys. His car keys. I'd grabbed them centuries ago when I'd stormed out of that kitchen to go find the truth. My car. It was still there, parked in the lot of the 24-hour diner. The Comet. It was how far? 5 miles? 10? I didn't know, but it was a target. It was a move. It was the only thing I had left. Nathan steps out of the alley. He doesn't run. He moves. Purposefully. He sticks to the shadows between houses. A ghost. A rat. A survivor. Video. Cut to a wide shot. We see Nathan's lonely, miserable figure, limping barefoot, coatless, moving through the sleeping suburban streets. He's a stain on a perfect world. My goal was the truth. The truth killed my wife. The truth destroyed my life. The truth made me a murderer in the eyes of the world. My new goal? He stops. He looks up at the sky. The moonlight hits the cut on his cheek. It hits the emptiness in his eyes. My new goal is to live. Because Emily, she didn't die for her secrets. She didn't die for Victor Grayson. She died ordering me to run. And I will not let that be for nothing. I will run. I will run faster than them. I will think sharper than them. I'm a history teacher. I'm a chess coach. And I just learned the hardest lesson. That history is written by the survivors. And in this game, I will not be the sacrifice pawn. I am Nathan Carter. And I am a ghost. And I'm going to haunt every last one of them. Nathan turns a corner and disappears into the darkness. The screen cuts to black. The sound of police sirens swells and then abruptly cuts off.